I'm Katie Schaff. I'm a senior at Greenville High School and your host of GISD Today on GEUS 34. GISD Today is your first-hand look on what's going on inside Greenville's public schools. We've got some really exciting things in upcoming episodes, but for this week and next, we'll be focusing on an important topic, what Greenville plans to do to raise student performance. The district has been labeled as academically unacceptable by the state of Texas for its completion rates, and Greenville High School, for the second year in a row, has also been labeled as academically unacceptable. Our special correspondent, 5th grader Casey Vance, recently paid a visit to the Greenville Administration Office. She got the scoop from Superintendent Lloyd Graham on what's being done to raise student performance. Let's check and see what she found out.
Good morning, Casey.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good.
Look at the camera. We need to get a shot for Casey, all right? I'm going to hug Casey's neck because she interviews me from time to time. She's one of our outstanding intermediate school students, and I'm so glad she's come over here to talk to me today. Thanks, Case. Doing well? Okay. Yes, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lloyd Graham, and it is my distinct privilege and great honor to be the superintendent of schools of the Greenville Independent School District. This is our pilot, our first episode of GISD Today. And I promise you that the shows that will follow will be more informative and better than this one that is featuring the superintendent. They will be focused on issues and on children, and we are so appreciative. I am so appreciative to the board of directors at GEUS, Sue Ann Harding, the chair, and her board, and Aretha Cook and Jimmy Dickey and David McCullough, and for making this possible. Appreciative to the GISD Board of Trustees for supporting this effort, and I'm very appreciative of Miss Casey Vance, who's with me today, who's one of our 5th graders, who in fact interviewed me for the first time by a student publication, our intermediate school newspaper. So that was my first interview here with some kids in the Greenville Independent School District, and so I've invited Casey to interview me today, and so we can talk a bit about this show and a bit about this school district. So if you'll bear with us through this show and bear with us through this programming, I promise you the subsequent programming will be better. Thank you. Casey, good day. How are you?
Good.
You have some questions for your superintendent?
Yes, sir.
What do you have?
The district has been rated academically unacceptable, and Greenville High School is academically unacceptable for the second straight year. How does the district plan to address these problems?
Well, the first thing we're going to do, Casey, I guess that is the question. You know, we have been academically unacceptable as a district as a whole, and we have been academically unacceptable as a high school for the second straight year. But for us to do that, I think the first thing we need to know is that the district is going to assess where we are to see who we are today. And so our high school is academically unacceptable for 2 reasons: our science scores and our completion rates. And completion rates differ from dropout rates because Greenville ISD time will be negotiable, but expectations won't be. If it takes you a little longer than the 13 years, including kindergarten, to get through school, we're okay with that. We just want everybody to get through school. And I think that that is in fact the way that the state of Texas and the way NCLB, No Child Left Behind, our federal legislation, views that. But what completion rate means is that when you start the 8th grade, in case you're in 5th, and so when you're in the 8th grade, we're going to identify you and all your classmates, and we're going to call you a cohort group. And then we're going to track you as you move into high school. And you and many of your friends will graduate after 4 years of high school. And many will need another semester, and many may need to go over to our alternative campus, to the New Horizons, and pursue an alternate route, maybe in an accelerated route to graduate. And what completion rate is how many children have graduated or choosing to continue to move toward graduation and completion. At Greenville High School and New Horizons, and for the district as a whole, all of our accountability rating focuses on children. And so we have white non-Hispanic subgroup that we look at, we have a Hispanic subgroup that we look at, an African American subgroup, and because poverty, children that are economically disadvantaged, all share similar life's experiences and burdens, hurdles, if you will, then we have an economically disadvantaged group. And the reason we are academically unacceptable as a school district is because not enough of the 8th grade class that should have graduated in 2005 either graduated or continued to move forward. We only had 60% of our Hispanic children, 68% of our economically disadvantaged children continue to complete. Now, I don't think anyone thinks that only 75% of kids should complete their high school education or complete public school. But to be academically acceptable, you have to have at least 75% of the kids complete or continue school. Now, when your superintendent looks at that, Casey, I would say, how about you and I go down to Lamar or Bowie or Crockett or Carver or Travis and look at this year's kindergarten class and see which 25% of those kids we don't want to complete. Now, I know that you want and you expect that every one of those kids should complete. And so 75% is not going to be good enough for Greenville ISD as we move forward, but 75% is the measure. And we have 2 subgroups that did not meet that measure. And that's why the district is academically unacceptable. And then our science scores at the high school also contribute to their problem. So what I want to say about this is we need to know why, and then we need to know who we are. And so the district is looking hard as to why, and the district is looking hard as to who we are. Now, who we are today is somewhat different than who we were 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and 10 years ago. And I don't know if everyone truly understands how closely aligned with the state of Texas that the demography, the type of student that we have at Greenville, is aligning with the state, Casey. But today, 62% of the children that attend Greenville Public Schools are economically disadvantaged. 24% are Hispanic, 24% are African American, 29% are Hispanic, and 45% of the children that attend our school in pre-K through 12 are white, non-Hispanic children. And this contrasts drastically as to where we were even 10 years ago. In the last 10 years, the percentage of our children that are African American has remained relatively stable, but our Hispanic population has increased 200%. And our white non-Hispanic population has decreased about 25%, and our economically disadvantaged population has increased over 37%. And so our needs and the shift that is present in the state of Texas is present in Greenville. So what we're doing to begin with is identifying what the core issues are, identifying who the children are whose educational needs we need to meet, and then we're setting non-negotiable high expectations for all children. And Greenville ISD will be focused upon every child having an equal life chance as a result of their public education. Thank you.
We will hear more from Greenville Superintendent Lloyd Graham, and we'll also hear more about a Greenville Lions football player who earned recognition in the classroom. We'll hear all that and more when we come back from the break. Hi, I'm Katie Schaaf. Welcome back to GISD Today. Before we hear more from our Superintendent Lloyd Graham in his interview, we'll hear what GISD students have been up to lately and good news briefs. The Greenville Lions powerlifting teams recently competed one of their first meets in Princeton. Along with several individual awards, the Lady Lions were crowned champions of the meet. Greenville High School senior Mark Mosby was an all-district defensive lineman this year for the Greenville Lions. Now, after football season, he's earning high marks for his work off the field. Mark was recently named to the academic all-state football team. Along with him, other seniors, Sean Driggers and Andy Garner, were on the honorable mention list as well. Thanks again to our special correspondent, Casey Vance, and Superintendent Lloyd Graham. We'll hear more from Superintendent Lloyd Graham next week and see what Greenville's doing to raise student performance. Look for that and more next week in GISD Today.
What is the significance of these changes, and what is the significance in the increase of number of economically disadvantaged students?
Okay. When you say the significance of the changes, by that, Casey, I take it to mean the changes in the student population and the increases in economically disadvantaged children. What's significant is that about 10 years ago, we had 400 children, plus or minus, that were limited English proficient, which means that English was the second language that was spoken in their home. They were challenged in the use and the reading and the assimilation of English. Today, that number is well over 600 and increasing. And so we have significant percentages of our children today where English is not the primary language that's spoken in their home. And so that makes it, I don't want to say difficult, but that contributes to overall communication in the classroom, amongst peers, and ascertaining the subject matter that's being taught. I'm sure you have friends in your class that Spanish is the first language that they speak at home, and that probably, speak Spanish better than they speak English. And as caring students, y'all find a way to communicate with everybody, amongst yourselves. But when you think about if your teacher was delivering your lesson to you in Spanish or in a language different than the one that was spoken in your home, you can see the kind of challenges that would create. Now, economically disadvantaged brings with that a loss in what Mr. Graham will call social capital. And what I want to mean by that is when we go into many homes, you'll find books, you'll find literature, you'll find music and reading and life's experiences where you can travel, and there will be children in your class that have traveled outside of the boundaries of Hunt County and outside the boundaries of Texas, and in fact outside the boundaries of the United States, and have seen a larger world view and had a set of experiences that are much broader than the limited set of experiences that being concerned about light bills and rent and those kinds of things. And so being economically disadvantaged is not an excuse. Being able to speak a second language is a gift. But the changes with regard to our economically disadvantaged population require the schools and the overall social systems at the county and in the city to step up and meet some things that might not be present in other people's homes. And they just greatly, the word I would use is exacerbate, but they just greatly increase the things that we must come over to minister to these children. Am I making sense with that, Casey? Okay. What else you got, friend?
So the district has obviously changed over the years. How are these changes affecting student performance?
Okay. Well, I think that the district population has changed over the years, and I've probably already talked that as much as I need to. But I wonder whether or not the district has changed to meet that. Okay, I think we can look and we can see that the changes in the Greenville Independent School District in the student body, and I think those are positive and good changes. I think we are blessed by diversity, that there is strength in diversity, and that children that come through the Greenville Independent School District will have the opportunity to see what Texas is going to look like in their lifetime. Texas today, as I look at it, and I sit down and look at it, today only 37% of the children that attend public schools in Texas are white non-Hispanic children. Today, 45% of the children in Texas public schools are Hispanic, and 15% of the children in today's public schools are African American. And 56% of the children in today's public schools are economically disadvantaged. And so I see some great gifts to children to be in a school district that is diverse, that can meet the needs of those children, and that places all children in proximity of children of different cultural and socioeconomic backgrounds, because those children that have that type of experience, by my estimation, are going to be better able to be successful in the diverse state that Texas has become. And so, yes, ma'am, the makeup of our district has changed. The makeup of our district is moving toward the makeup of the state of Texas. And I wonder, when I look at our accountability ratings, whether or not we've been cognizant, whether or not we've been aware of how fast that change has been coming, and whether or not the district has changed fast enough to meet that need. And so, to your point, our student population is changing. The challenges that come with diversity mirror the blessings that come with diversity. And this district is changing to meet those needs, beginning with high expectations for all kids. Okay, what you got?
What exactly is the district's completion rate, and how has that affected the district and the high school's accountability?
Okay, I think I probably answered that question in the first question, but I'm going to say that again. Okay, I might have gone too far on the first one, Casey. You know, sometimes I do that. I've been accused of, when I'm asked what time it is, I tell people how to build a watch. The latest thing I was told is that I needed to get off the pixel view and look at the large picture view, and so, but completion rate, as I mentioned before, Casey, expectations are not negotiable with Mr. Graham. Casey, my expectation is that you're going to graduate from Greenville High School. You're going to graduate on time. You're going to graduate with honors. I want you and all of the kids in 5th grade to do that. And the increase in reading tax performance that we're seeing on our simulation tests that we gave before Martin Luther King holiday lead me to believe that 5th grade is meeting that challenge. So I have that expectation for all of you. I look at the partnership that we're developing with Paris Junior College, and the fact that they'll have a campus across the street from the high school before you get to the high school. And so my expectation also will be that when you graduate, perhaps you could be so far as to have your associate's degree and your high school diploma at the same time. So that's my goal, that's my dream, that's my expectations. And those aren't negotiable. But when we look at completion rate, Casey, what we're talking about is the time. And completion rate, once again, if you graduated, you've completed. But if you continue to attend school and you're moving toward completion, you get to be added into the population of those 8th graders that we identified. Our class of 2006, Mr. Ricardo Corrales and Ms. Linda Folden at the high school have done a good job with the students of the class of 2006 that did not graduate, to keep them in the fold, to move them toward completion, working in partnership with Paris Junior College, with the good people at the New Horizons campus and with our high school campus. And so completion is about making sure everybody keeps their finger in the fire until they graduate, whether they graduate on time or not. And so once again, our completion rates are the reason that the district is academically unacceptable. And I would remind everyone that we have 2 high school campuses, and that New Horizons, and although it does help, it's not solving the problem as a whole. And so we're looking at restructuring our alternative education campus to include more children, and we're modifying our instructional delivery system at our high school to include more children and provide more pathways. So completion is focused on time extension without moving expectations backwards. Okay? All right. You have anything else on your list, Casey?
No, sir.
You don't? Well, why don't you, is there anything at all you'd like to know from your superintendent today?
Nothing. that I can think of.
Not that I can think of, all right. Well, you've been so kind to come in and visit with me today, and you've been consummately professional, even as a fifth grader. I've enjoyed both of these interviews, and I look forward to visiting with you again, okay? Thanks, Casey. You have a great day.
Thank you.
Now let's check out what's happening this week in Greenville ISD.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Casey Vance for taking out of her school day at our intermediate school and coming over and helping us with part one of this two-part segment, this introduction of GEUS Today from, I guess, at least the superintendent's perspective. The next show, when we get it together, will be focused more so on data and specific responses to data, and our state-appointed campus intervention team, and those types of questions that I'm sure everybody has as to where we're moving to from here. But I would be very remiss if I did not tell this community what a fine, as a whole, what a fine faculty and staff that we have caring for your children. There are no unimportant positions in the service of public school children. I believe our primary mission is custodial care, that your children need to be physically and psychologically safe when you bring them to us each day, or when we pick them up on the street corner in front of the house on our bus routes. And so, you know, to our bus drivers and the folks in transportation that are the first smiling face and the last smiling and encouraging face that many of our children see each day, I'd like for you to thank those folks for us. When you come to school and you look, and you know, our facilities are clean and bright, and creating a conducive environment for our children to learn in. Our maintenance and custodial staff need to be applauded. Everybody, when we think about instructional staff, we think about our teachers, and certainly they are our frontline folks. We all exist to facilitate their mission, but you know, our instructional aides, carrying individuals up against children in small ratios, small adult-teacher ratios. We have many instructional aides that are helping many of our children meet and overcome some difficulties, and they should be lauded. I'm sure beyond a shadow of a small doubt that I forgot to thank someone, but you know, one of the things about Greenville and us meeting this challenge is, you know, we are an independent community that has the ability to benefit from the Metroplex while not being subjected to it. We have our county government at hand, and our county officials are concerned, and they have been working with us to help us meet our educational needs. I do want to thank our city government, in particularly as of late, our chief of police and the way that he and his SROs work to help us to have a safe and secure environment. But everyone at the city has worked hard to help us address and meet our educational needs, and we're very thankful for that. And I would also say that as our legislative session is in play, that we are, the word I guess I would have is, you know, I do think we are fortunate to have such access to our state senator who lives here in our community, and to Representative Flynn, who maintains an office in our community, and for the level of communication that they keep in play with this school district, and I'm sure our local government as a whole. Next week, we'll sit down and we'll look at our assessment data. We'll have some maps, charts, and graphs for you, and I look forward to speaking to you again, and perhaps Casey or someone else will come over next week and help us address some of the specific issues that I know you're concerned with. Thank you for paying some attention to us today. And once again, as I said in the onset, I assure you that as soon as we get through these first 2 introductory sessions and get past the superintendent, the overall quality of the program will increase. Thank you for your time and your interest and your support for the Greenville Independent School District.